Hi, Trevor here, reflecting on life through music. Thank you for stopping by. Well, I trust you enjoyed my last video on 80s pop star and incredible behind the scenes music guy, Feargal Sharkey. And through his song, A Good Heart, we looked at the very thing, what makes a good heart and how can hearts combine together. So I trust you found that one encouraging. Well, there's a bit of a tie with Feargal Sharkey and the guys we're talking about today because of this guy, Vince Clarke. So this band was formed in London in 1985 when Andy Bell, who was very much lead vocals, and Vince Clarke, who did everything else, got together and decided to form the band Erasure. Now, Vince Clarke, it's quite incredible to see what this guy's actually been involved in. He started his career with Depeche Mode. Of course, I just can't get enough, plus a few others. And hailing in this thing called electronic music when it wasn't cool. It went from that to Yazoo with Alison Moyet and a couple of albums with them. Then he went to the band The Assembly, and that's where Feargal Sharkey came into the picture as lead vocals for their song Never Never. And then Ever Restless, Vince Clarke was really desperately trying to find a match for him. And it was when he met Andy Bell in 1985 that Erasure was formed. And continuing on in the genres of those previous bands that Vince was part of, very much synth pop is where Erasure found their popularity. Between 1986 and 2020, how long is that career? So Vince Clarke well and truly found his niche with Andy. 18 studio albums, 6 live albums, 9 compilation albums, 14 video albums, 49 music videos, 13 EPs and 62 singles. Now these guys were absolutely massive in the 1980s, particularly in the UK and Europe. They had 24 consecutive top 40 UK singles. And out of 37 eligible singles, they had 34 of those made it into the top 40. And they've had 17 in the top 10. So these guys know how to write songs. Let's face it, Vince Clarke, knowing that he had a guy that could sing his songs, was able to absolutely create resonance with the audience. And Erasure got quite a following and almost superstars, really. 1989, they won a Brit Award for Best British Group. So there we go. So Andy's got such an incredible voice. This guy, absolutely amazing. It's not much I knew about these guys until I saw A Little Respect, which we're going to get onto a little bit. Turned it on my Facebook feed, and just something about Vince's awesome backing in this and the whole thing that's got me to watch this song to the end. Andy's got a pretty amazing voice and a bit of a poster boy for the LGBTQI plus community as well. Bit of an icon in that particular community. And I suppose where I wanted to go today with this song, A Little Respect, which is the song that I found on my Facebook feed, was very much going a little bit back with what happened with Feargal Sharkey and A Good Heart. And that is that when you give your heart to somebody else, or somebody has given their heart to you, let's look at that way. I could have gone down the whole track of just respect them and all the rest of it, but life isn't about absolutes, really. Life is a little bit more about the incremental things that happen. And when do we know when we're respecting and when we don't? When do we actually cross that line? And I suppose the best way to think about that is to think about what's going on inside your mind and your heart while you contemplate this stuff, because you're not thinking like, oh, I'm respecting you now, I'm not going to respect you anymore. It's not quite that simple. I'm just wondering whether it's more like the lines of just something creeps in there, just some little thing, some little thing that you don't like, some little thing that just irks you a little bit, and that grows and grows and grows. And it goes from thinking, well, actually, I'll learn to live with this thing because it's okay, until they get to a point where, oh, maybe I can't live with this thing anymore. But do you think that transition happens overnight? Well, no, it doesn't. It happens a little bit after little bit after little bit after little bit. And it's almost like the respect gradually diminishes. Like you might have big capital R-E-S-P-E-C-T as Aretha Franklin sang in her song, and those letters become lowercase and then smaller and smaller and smaller until they're just a little jumbled mess on the line. And we find ourselves, one day we were respecting the person and now we're not. So a couple of things to think about here. First of all, is the lack of respect warranted? Is there there's some little assumption that you've got that isn't right? Some little thing you're thinking, well, I just don't respect that person. Have you really caught yourself in that and thought, hang on a minute, is that really justified or not? Now, if it's just like a little thing and it's not, it just irks you a little bit and, really, and, they're not like you, and human beings are human beings, and, you can't just embrace that difference. Well, there might be you actually that needs to deal with this respect and build those letters back up in your mind. That's one way to look at it, because, if you're thinking, if you're not looking at someone with quite the same kind of vibe, could be a sign that respect is kind of diminishing and the light's going out a little bit. So that's one way to look at it. Is it absolutely warranted and absolutely justified, this lack of respect you're starting to breed? Well, if it is, you think, well, actually, yeah, Trevor, I've really analysed and thought about this a bit, and I really think it's a bit of a thing here. Well, first of all, acknowledge it's a bit of a thing. We as human beings don't want to acknowledge the thing very often. We will just kind of hope it'll get better, but sometimes we need to acknowledge that there is a thing. And then maybe instead of the thing becoming the blob letters, as I talked about before on the line, the respect line, I think, well, do I want it to get to that point? This is where our thinking brain needs to make a decision and override the emotional brain a little bit and say, hey, emotional brain, that's this thing here, by the way, that's going crazy. Well, this thing's just checked out. This thing here needs to say, hey, be quiet for a second. I need to think about this for a second. Stop the emotion. Stop all of the stuff that's going on and think for a minute about what you're actually doing. And you think, well, it is actually a bit of a thing. It is, I've thought about this. I've thought logically about it. I've actually perhaps talked to somebody about it as well. And it is a bit of a thing. Well, if it is a bit of a thing, you've got two choices, really. The first choice, and hopefully, and this comes back to, obviously, whatever the thing might be, consider talking to the other person about that thing. Say, look, this thing's creeping up on me a little bit. I actually still really want you in my life, but this thing's starting to happen a bit, and I'm just wondering whether we can work together to deal with it. And I wonder if we can just kind of, talk about it, because I actually don't want the lack of respect thing to be there. I want it to get back to where it was. It actually might even deepen after conversations like this. This is a great thing about these conversations where relationships get to a point and you get past this initial stuff and you get into something deeper. That only happens through the hard times often. Being together through those hard times is what helps. And so if you're on the receiving end of someone saying, hey, I need to talk to you about this thing. What do those TV shows say? Now, here's the thing. Well, if you've got a now here's the thing moment coming up, well, sit down and say, okay, we need to talk about this thing. And so respect can be rebuilt. And trust, and perhaps trust can deepen and respect can deepen because you've had that conversation. Very quickly, perhaps we jump to our defensive point of view about things and think, no, I just don't agree with you, and that's kind of it. Sometimes we need to put that thing on hold for a while. That could be this thing going, I don't agree, I don't agree, I don't agree. This thing say, hang on a minute, what's the other person thinking here? That's the trick. And so you've been this a little bit of a lull in your respect thing kind of happening. Have a bit of a think about it first of all and think, well, hang on, do I really want this thing? Because it's only going to get worse and worse and worse, and I don't want it to get worse and worse and worse. So I need to do it now. So have a think about it. And if you do need to have a conversation with someone, we'll do it. But do it in a spirit of generosity and love and fairness for all, because that's only the best way. You don't want to get angry. And of course, I'm talking to myself here about that very thing, because how easy is it to get angry in the heat of the moment? You've got to have a little thing inside your head, and even then, to say, hey, I'm not going to get angry here. I feel myself getting angry. I need to stop for 5 seconds, or perhaps I need to stop for 5 seconds before I talk anyway. Anything to keep that anger under control, but easier than said than done when you're in the moment. So respect, a little respect, all we need is a little respect, really. You just need respect that just is everlasting and eternal and makes us feel valued as human beings, because we all want to be respected as human beings. So I trust that will all be encouraging for you to do. It's amazing how these videos kind of go in a bit of a series sometimes. So I trust you found that one encouraging. Well, on to the clip. So, and you'll see what I mean about how awesome Andy's voice is and how incredible Vince's backing and songwriting, everything is. To have 17 top 40 hits is pretty amazing, actually. Top 10 hits, actually. So we've got a little respect. This came off the 1988 album, The Innocents. Now we've got the official clip on this one, and we've also got a live version. The thing I love about this particular song is actually the acoustic guitars in this one. It just gives the whole thing a bit of a lift. Acoustic guitars is kind of bring a bit of magic into the sound, and this is well and truly what a little respect needed. So we've got official and live of that one. We've also got Oh L'Amour, 1986, so a bit earlier off the album Wonderland. Breaking hearts and all that sort of stuff, but this interaction with love still. So that's the official clip on that one. We then got Star. This is a bit of a dig at religious integrity in a particular, and a few other things off the 1990 album Wild. That's the official clip on that one. There's astronauts and all sorts of things jumping around that particular video. Erasure were getting pretty successful, so they were able to get pretty creative with their music videos, and of course they did have 49 of them. So they've got, and of course Andy's a pretty good-looking guy as well, so that kind of helps. And he's got that artisticness about him, which just makes him a compelling character, whatever character he decides to show on stage and in these video clips. So we've got Star. We then got Breath of Life from 1992 album Chorus. Now, having a look at this one, this is almost like, hey, at some point you've got to stop listening to what other people are saying about you and start thinking for yourself. Because, as a children, we get told about, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do something else, you got to believe this and all the rest of it. At some point, you've got to say, stop, I actually need to make up my own mind about things. But the main thing is, and it's almost like Breath of Life, it's almost like, hey, I'm breathing life for the first time because I'm actually living the way I want to believe in the things I believe. So, call me a little bit of a back to Andy's childhood a little bit, and him working out himself and all the rest of it could be a little bit to do with that as well. Of course, when you are as popular and as successful as Erasure have been, you can actually start to make a bit of commentary about things. And certainly those last two songs are all about that particular thing. So the links to those 5 videos are in the description below. And I've also included my last video from Feargal Sharkey. So if you want to recap on him, feel free. It's there for you to have a look at. Well, thank you for everybody for coming back today. If this is your first time to Life Reflections through Music, or you come back for another one, so great to see you all here, and thank you for the engagement we've been getting of late. Well, that's it for today. Next time we're continuing on going back to artists from A to F that I may not have remembered, and classic case of how can you not forget this girl. She certainly, when she died, as she did, the world kind of paused a little bit. I was a little bit shocked as well Amy Winehouse. So we've got to go to her next time. So until then, I'll catch you around. Bye for now.